Alright, so we've now have attached some of the plywood boards, some of the paneling to the frame. So you can see here I've glued and I glued, clamped, and used the brad nailer to kind of do some final finishing here. So I will go through with some wood filler and fill that in and sand it down. You shouldn't hardly be able to notice it at all once that's nice and finished and stained. So the two side panels are in. The top panel's not been glued on yet, but I'm going to glue that on here shortly. So yeah, it's looking really good. I'm happy with how it's coming along. The one big learning I've had is that I did use Home Depot to cut the plywood for me, and they're notorious for not having the most accurate of saws there. So just know that if you're doing DIY and you're getting paneling and having them cut it down for you. I don't have a table saw, but luckily my brother does, and I was able to take some of the extra plywood that I had over to his house, and we were able to get some more precise cuts to fit this better. So yeah, everything's coming together pretty well. I will go ahead and glue this top on. I'll start working on cutting the appearance boards to give this a nice clean finish to cover up the plywood. So that'll be the next couple steps that you're going to see. So glue's dry, clamps are off. So you can see I've now glued on the top. I've also glued on the front appearance boards. The appearance boards, you can see, go out to the edge so they cover up the rough edge of the plywood. So got a nice clean finish between these. They do a pretty good job of covering up the 2x4s. I actually want to put a bottom shelf in there that will cover that up, and a center shelf that's made out of plywood with a finishing appearance board on the front edge. And I gotta do the back finishing as well. I also have something to put up here. So I haven't really shown how I'm going to finish the top yet, but I do have some trim. But before I do that trim, I'm actually going to cut this down and want to have this nice finished piece that'll just be attached on top of the plywood, and that'll give a nice clean finish on the top to view as well. So that's what I'm working on now. I'm going to go ahead and start the back cuts, the shelf cuts, and I'll be back in a bit. So now it's time to start cutting out the shelves. I'm using extra plywood that I have. You can see the bottom shelf I've already cut out and fit to there. Top piece right here, I'm just going to use a jigsaw and cut out for the 2x4s here. So I'll do that in just a second. Okay, so I've now put in the trim on the bottom. I forgot to film that, but I do need to trim the top. So I did get this red oak trim at Home Depot. It's pretty cheap. I'm just going to take this, we'll trim this up on the top so you get a nice even line. And we'll trim this around the edge. So that's going to be the next step. Let's get that nice even trim on the top layer with this 3/4 inch red oak square and this red oak trim. I should get a nice finish on this once it's complete. So those are the last steps. Then just a little bit of touch up and sanding and painting. So we'll go ahead and get cracking on these. Alright, so we are nearing the finish line on this aquarium stand project. So you can see I've started in on the staining process. I'm going for a distressed gray look. It actually matches some other furniture in the house, and that's one of the reasons why I did a DIY stand. I was going for a very specific look and finish that I'd like to see and really add to the overall setup. So to stain the stand, I'm using a pre-stained wood conditioner. So what you do, you apply that to make sure the stain applies more evenly to your project. So you put that on, you let it set for about 15 minutes, and then you have about a 2-hour window, at least with this one I'm using, to apply the stain. So I've gone ahead and done that. I've applied my primary coat of stain to the stand. I let that set for about 2 hours, and I went through and did a really light touch-up kind of buffing coat 2 hours later, and I have applied my first coat of polyurethane finish. So I'll be doing 3 coats of polyurethane. I'll be sanding with 220 grit between coats just to kind of buff out any areas that weren't applied evenly on the stand. And I'll also be putting the shelves back in. So I had the shelves out right now and the bottom out. I'm staining those separately, but when I finish the second coat, I'll put everything together. And for the final coat, I'll apply the final polyurethane coat with the whole stand assembled together. So hang on, and I'll be back in a little bit with the final project. Ready?
Yep, go.
Alright, we're back, and the stand is complete. So I'm really happy with how the finish turned out and the overall look. It's looking great in the house. The important check, so everything is coming out perfectly level.
Yay!
So that's going to be awesome for the tank. I'm not going to shim it or do too much to balance. So I'm really happy. My first try of this, I think I got kind of lucky that it came out level and everything's going to work okay. A couple learnings. So I did wait until I had these appearance boards on front before I drilled the holes to mount the shelf, and that required a lot of extra work and it's kind of a pain in the butt. So I'd recommend, I wish I would have drilled all those holes when I had the frame set and just use a jig to go ahead and drill the holes then. It would probably save me a little bit of time and headache. Also, in terms of the cost, I'll put the cost down below and the plans down below for you guys want to know the measurements. But you see I used the same appearance boards that I had up front because I had the extras. I bought 2 of them. But that added probably extra cost. Probably the most expensive part of this was these appearance boards to kind of finish off the trim. So I probably could have got away with something like a 1/4 inch versus the 3/4 inch appearance board back there. It may save probably about 20 bucks off the cost. So keep that in mind if you guys are building this at home. You're never going to see that in the back. I probably could have saved a little bit of money, but hey, for my first time, I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. So if you guys have any questions, comments, recommendations, things I could have done better, because like I said, I'm pretty new to this and would love to get your feedback. So like, subscribe, and ask any questions below, and I'll be sure to get back to you. I'm looking forward to setting up the quarantine tank now, so that'll be the next video.